Having this conversation with us is Washira Kimani. Welcome to the show.
Karibu sana. Asante sana.
Wewe karibu zaidi.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, always lovely to have these conversations. And just to tie it in with the other conversations that tumekuwa nazo earlier,
Yes.
we talked about how powerful our mind is.
Yes.
That was the first conversation. Then we talked about how to behave at the workplace. Now we are at the workplace, we need to be in control of our money.
Yes.
Most of the times, nikiona tu kitu, kuna kanguo tu kampia, kakiatu, na haiko kwa budget.
Yes.
But then it feels so good, the thrill of just getting that other thing. And then later, by the time inafika tarehe 20, niko wow, cafe.
Yes.
What do I do? So today you have tricks for us.
Yes.
To help us manage that particular situation.
Yes.
We will pay you after this.
You need. Okay. Not. I will not bill this time.
You will not be. Oh, thank you.
I will not bill this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's get to it.
Let me first of all put a bit of a background.
Yes, please.
COVID-19 has thrown people in the deep in terms of their spending habits.
That is true.
And most of the things that we used to do in a traditional way, now technology has given us a way to spend money without even moving an inch. And now because of that, our finances have gone south. Our goals have, we've packed our goals because we've picked new spending habits. The last 1 year, 2 years, there's data that I was showing that the last 1 year, retail market has gone up by more than 150%.
Wow.
If you watch food deliveries, buying shoes online, you don't even have to go anywhere.
You don't have to go anywhere.
All that has gone a full circle to a point where you don't have to move from where you are. M-Pesa, you can swipe your card remotely and you can do all sort of things. But we need to get to a place and ask ourselves, is that helping? So we need to recalibrate ourselves, either to pre-COVID times or to a place where we have to put certain things that have to put up in the straight and narrow way regarding our money.
That is true.
And one of the things that we recommend is that most people don't even know how much money they spend. Where, if I look at the last 1,000 shillings I took from my bank or from my wallet, where is it? You may not be able to know where that money is. And especially most people say, when I take a 10 shillings from the 1,000, would you even end up?
1,000 ishaisha.
Would you end up? But most people don't know where that money goes. And one of the things, the easiest way to do is track that money and ask yourself, how do you do it? So what I did even on my phone, I went and got an app where if I fuel my car, I put it there. If I go for lunch, I put it there. And from there, you're able to track and you know, these are my spending habits and where am I wasting my money on.
Okay.
And especially on now when you talked about shoes and all that, because we have our weakness.
Yes.
Everybody has a weakness. And unless you're able to know what your weakness is, you keep pumping money there. For ladies, shoes, handbags. I will not ask you how many you have. For men, mostly it's anything around their vehicles.
Yes.
So we all have our weakness and we need to know what our weakness is and be able to work around it. Like for me, I used to lump together my clients' bills and my personal bills in one account. Okay. Then one day I went and separated them and I realized, see your clients, ni mimi. See your clients, ni mimi. So you need to get to a place and know where your weakness is.
Where your weakness is.
Where your weakness is.
Yeah.
So you track your money. And from there, you also realize where your weakness is. There's also something else that we do, spending money that we don't have. And there's a joke that when people are counting their money, anasema mpaka pesa ya fuliza. How much money do you have? Anasema niko na 30,000. Fuliza iko hapo ndani, tala iko hapo ndani, and sort of things.
Okay.
Initially, we used to think about credit cards, but currently the biggest threat to our finances is mobile money.
Yeah.
So, can we be able to do without that? Can we be able to plan ourselves without the mobile money and the credit cards? Because the problem with that is that they give you the thrill that you have money, whereas you don't have. And they are expensive. Very, very expensive. They are supposed to be used on an emergency basis. That's it. But most people, you pay Kamau, borrow Jane to pay Kamau, then you borrow tomorrow to pay the other person. And that's a cycle that goes. And when you go and now count the amount of interest you pay on all that money, it's too high. Then there is something else. After that, now come up with a budget. Now, the budget will help you several things to come into perspective.
Okay.
One, what are my monthly recurrent expenditure?
Yeah.
Whether I work or I don't, how much must I pay? Two, other than that, maybe if I'm business, can I come and ask myself, what is my business expense that I have spent? And because most of us now, because of COVID, we've been thrown back to where either we're operating from home or shared offices and all sort of things, come and ask what is my business expense. Then from there, do I have debts? And you have debts, starting with those expensive debts, can I pay them off from my budget? And then from there, you can come and ask yourself, do I have an allowance that allows me to spend? Because the bottom line is, I'm not supposed to work, pay bills, then wait for the next pay. I'm supposed to get to a place also, enjoy myself. So give yourself an allowance and ask yourself, this month, what allowance do I have to myself? Or how much allowance do I have to my family? 5,000, 10,000. If I'm taking my wife out, there's an allowance. I don't have to go and tell her, by the way, hakuna pesa. Yet they have been working in, year out. So I'm supposed to have an allowance of sorts. To help me maneuver. I can take somebody out, I can go and be a Santi and all sort of things. Because there's a space for that shoe. There's a space for that handbag for you to feel good.
Yes.
But ultimately, there's something else even after you do your budget. When you have that big urge to buy something, if you can pause buying that thing for a day or two, it will tell you whether it was an emergency or not.
That is true.
Because you get to a place of saying, by the way, I did not need that shoe. I did not need that shoe. Because what happens is that you go to town and you're walking somewhere and you see a blue shoe and you remember kuna dress somewhere. Haina kiatu. But if you wait for a day or two, you ultimately don't need that. Men, you go to the garage and you're being told, we are giving shocks at 30% off. And somebody goes and says, I may save 10,000. You not saved 10,000. You spent your 40, 50,000 shillings. But if you take a day or two out of that situation where you're buying, then at that point you'll be able to, you may not end up buying
the thing because it's not important. And I think even retailers or those people who are selling these things, they know. That is why they know, wakikwambia nitarudi, we never go back. We never go back because it hits you. Really, I don't need it.
True.
Ama, if you really, really need it, then now you will go back, get it. But then they know that's why they will insist. Chukua saizi madam, itakuwa iko. Unajua kwanza hii ndio pea mwisho imebaki. So unaingizwa box.
In fact, selling is emotional and buying is emotional. Things that we need, we know where they are. If I go to the supermarket, najua shukari iko pale, mkate iko pale. Those things I know where they are. But there is some sections in the supermarket that you go to, either because you have a little bit of money in your pocket and becomes emotional. And notice even when you go to the supermarket, you don't have the merchandiser in the supermarket telling you, Mikali, we have 1, 2, 3. Chances are, you don't want to engage in that conversation. Because if you get caught up in that conversation, you go home with things that were not in your list. Because anything that is not in the budget, chances are you don't need it.
That's true.
And if you don't need it, chances are you need to put aside money. And ultimately, from our budget, we need to get to a place and ask ourselves, am I saving money? Because some years to come, you may not have the same energy you have today to work. Technology may come and replace the things that you do today, that you have to reevaluate whether your career has a future. But if you put aside money today, that money is going to save you. No wonder it's called savings. Put aside money today, save today, because that money will save you tomorrow.
And it's important we're having this conversation because when it comes to setting aside some amount of money for myself, or probably to grow on to maybe a business, or I want to invest in something, is there a certain percentage that I should be looking at when it comes to how much my recurrent expenses are and how much I need on the side so that I don't touch on pesa yenye nafaa kulipa nayo rent ndio nanunua nayo other things that I shouldn't be buying?
Okay. I'll give 3 percentages that we need that can guide us into a conversation around finances. One, if I'm saving money, I need to save money for what I can call my short-term expenses. And there's my short-term goals, and there's what I can call my long-term goals. Short-term goals, we're talking about like an emergency fund. Assuming today I'm told my mom is not feeling well, or I was driving and my car hit a pothole, the tires are gone. You need some money to get you out of that situation. And what we recommend is that can we be able to save at least 10% of your gross income before taxes, before tithing. Gross income, 10%. That, if you're able to do it, it will help you. And how do you know you have a proper emergency fund? If you have a minimum of 6 months your gross pay in a saving somewhere, that's a point you can say that your emergencies, you're sorted. Okay. The second saving is what you call the long-term goals. I need to buy a house in the next 5 years. I need to build my house. I need to change careers. I need to go to school and those sort of things. A minimum of 15% of my gross income should go towards a long-term savings. Now, that level means that 25% of my gross pay is supposed to be going to savings. That's the first thing about savings. The second thing is, from the expense side, you need to ask yourself, do I have an expense that is hemorrhaging my money?
Yes.
If you have an expense that is taking an average of 30% or more of your income, you're living beyond your means.
Okay.
And chances are, most people, when you do their financial goal setting and financial planning, most people today, their rent is taking approximately 60-70% of it. And that's what is killing most people. And that's what they need to evaluate. If I have an expense that is taking an average of 30% or more of my income, I'm living beyond my means. At that level now, you need to come and ask yourself, do I need to stay in that place? Can I move? You need courage to confront such that truth and be able to move from there. Because most people say, watu watasema nini? Because most people are caught in that. Nikitoka huku niende huku watasema nini? The thing is, people have so many issues to notice that yati ulihama.
Nata venye hata mali uko wanakuongelelea bado.
Yes. So the thing is, we need to, and that helps a lot.
Yes.
The 30%. And that's why even when people are taking loans, banks come and ask yourself, is 67% of your income free? Because they need to ask, can you be able to repay if you are to borrow? That's where that ratio comes from.
Oh, wow.
So save for a short term. Short term is anything 2 years and below. Long term is anything 3 years and above. So 10% for my short term, 15% to my long term, and 30% of my income should not be going to a single expense.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And when it comes to saving, what would be the proper places for you to put in your money? Because we have, places that you can just wake up, it doesn't grow, it doesn't add, there's no interest to it. What would you suggest when it comes to that, especially for the long term?
Now, on a short-term basis, there are several things you can do.
Okay.
Women are very good in what you call chamas, table banking and all that.
Yes.
It becomes an avenue.
Yeah.
So long as that when you receive that money, please do not go remodel the house and change curtains and buy cups and buy plates and duvets.
Yes.
If you're able to plan around it, it's a good thing. Second place that you can do short term is SACCOs. And SACCOs are a great avenue for you to be able to put money, borrow money, and also multiply the wealth you have. Long term basis, we are talking about what? We can go to the stock market. Currently, the stock market is at its lowest, almost where we were 2-3 years back. Because of COVID, stock market has been coming down, which means if I invest today and somebody maybe who invested in 2018, you're almost at the same level. Which means if the market was to rise today, when the person in 2018 is making money, I'm making more money than him. So stock market becomes a place to do that. Second place, you can go into policies that are held by various fund managers, the insurance companies and all that. Although people have a bit of perception, why I should go to the insurance companies route, because they say, oh, they don't pay and all sort of thing. But insurance gives you a discipline where every month you must put aside money. Every month you can do that. The third thing that people are doing, and it's something that's happening in the properties market, they're allowing people to do what you call land banking. That every month you can be putting aside money, and in a year or two, you can be able to possess that property. Other now is where you can go and now invest into business and those sort of things. So there are so many ways you can be able to do. But you don't invest in one and you say you're fine.
No.
Your financial stability depends on how many classes of assets you've invested in, so that if one asset class is not working, the other one is working. Because somebody can go and put all the money into the stock market. Then one day something happens uko inje that you have no control about.
Yes.
And it affects the place you're in. And I'll give an example. Sometimes back, the guy of Tesla, there's a comment he made about Bitcoin. And Bitcoin just... So if somebody had put all the money there, you lose your money.
Yes.
But if you're able to divide your money and put in different classes, it gives you stability. In fact, if you look at all the big shots in this country, and you study their profile, they have interest in they're in agriculture, they're in banking, they're in insurance. That's how to diversify. So your short term should be covered, your long term should be covered, and there's also what you call the medium term. Medium term are monies that you need to access in between 3 and 4 years. Okay. Mostly education for kids. You need to find a way where you can put aside that money and be able to access with minimal loss. So, but before you do that, have a sitting with a financial advisor who can be able to classify your expenses, your current reality today, project your future, then from there be able to identify what can you be able to do based on your current income and your earning capabilities.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. And thank you so much for that. Hi, we have a question here for you. Hi, Mikali, please ask the expert this question. What if I make a budget, but I still end up overspending? What can I do to seriously stop impulse buying? Jameni, sina discipline.
Now, there are several things that happen if you don't, that make you not follow your budget. Okay. It's because you are being left with free money at some point. If I go pay rent, pay this, and some 20,000-30,000 is hanging around my account, that money is what you end up blowing out. Okay. So what we need to do is ensure you have, like when you're talking about investment and savings, do you have money that needs to be paid off your account by the time money hits your account? But what do most people do? They are paid on 20th, but they are putting a standing order to a circle on 27th. Haitapata pesa. It will not find money in that account. The first thing you need to do is, can we put aside money where you're not tempted to use?
Yes. And
second thing, every time that person, whether there's a angel talking to you or a devil talking to you, spend money, remember your long-term goal.
Yes.
Remember maybe you have a holiday to go to. Maybe remember you need to buy an asset. Remember there's school to go. Kids have to go to school. Yeah. Like in the next 7-8 days, we are going to a new term. Are you aware?
Yeah, I think, yes.
But most parents have, that is not in perspective. Every time unaona hiyo kiatu nakumbuka, on 13th,
kuna kiatu ingine.
There's a shoe to buy. And that happens. Every time that happens, remember there's a long-term goal. And some of the goal you can make it almost threatening to yourself, that you need to save money to make your family live a better life.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Bashir, thank you so much for coming through. Always lovely to have you here. You leave us with some amazing wisdom to carry us through the days. How can people get in touch with you?
To get in touch with me, you can send me an email.
Okay.
And the email is info@iandj.co.ke. If you have any query around personal finance, corporate finance, I know that you can throw it in there. Or you can send me a message or a WhatsApp on 0714-101-000.
Say that again.
You can send me a message or a WhatsApp on 0714-101-000.
Thank you so much, Bashir, for coming through.
Karibu sana. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We're going to take a very short commercial break. We will be right back. Don't go too far. This is Full Circle with Mikali.